Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the UFC's heavyweight division, how fucking terrible it is, but the fact that at UFC 327 they announced that they did sign Gable Steveson, which I think everyone in the MMA combat sports world has kind of been waiting for it to happen because he's been doing side quests en route to what we knew was an eventuality. He was going to sign with the UFC. It was just a matter of when. Now, is that the best decision for his career right now? I don't know. We're going to discuss that, as well as the whole state of the heavyweight division, because there was some bright spots. Well, a bright spot this past weekend.
Business, you would lock this guy up, but you're in a little bit of a different spot where you can let him grow, let him get a little experience. Get him exposed that wrestling's not the same thing, or get him exposed that, hey, this wrestler's going to be the king. Like, you're in a little bit of a safe spot. But if you're within the UFC, at what point do you start calling out Gable? You call him out if you're a top 10 guy? Do you call him out if you're a top 15 guy? I mean, now is your one and only safe time to call out Gable Steveson and get a full pass. And this isn't like a new move, for example. Guys have been doing this from the beginning of time, and it's one of these accepted things in MMA. John Jones did this a week ago with bare knuckle. Sure would like to go do this bare knuckle. Oh, shucks, I can't. I got a contract over here in the States, right? I mean, like, this is a move that guys are pulling, but you also don't want to pull the move unless it does something for your own career. So at what point within your ranking do you call for a guy who's yet to be signed, but you know when he comes over, he's going to be coming over pretty hot? It's an interesting spot. And if you were the one to call for Gable and you're in the top 10, I think you're not only safe, I think you're safe twice removed. First off, he doesn't have a contract, and second, he's very unlikely to come into a top 10 opponent. So if you're Gable and you're out there fainting in the media that good news is coming, it's an interesting thing. It's just different. It's just different than anything that Gable's done before. Let me give you an example. You're in the Olympics. That is the success. Nobody will know who you wrestled in the Olympics. Your own mother will not know without looking who you wrestled. You were in the Olympics. And the same thing goes with the NFL. You were in the NFL, and no one's ever going to know who you lined up across from. Whether your team scored or your team got scored on, nobody will ever know you were in the NFL. And pro wrestling, at least at the level of WWE, it's the same thing. It does not matter if you're a jerk in the curtain or not, you were in the WWE. And I don't feel that that is necessarily true for the UFC. I think that it does matter who your opponent is. It does matter if you're coming up through Contender Series or Ultimate Fighter, or whether you're going on a numbered event.
Okay. Chael said a whole lot there, and I will say I kind of disagree with him. I disagree for the most part. Honestly, with Gable even signing with the UFC at this point. And I know people are not going to like that. And I will say, hear me out. My reasoning is he's only 25. He's 3-0. He's had 3 fights in less than a year, I think, on top of his dirty boxing match he did. He's about to do RAF. Why do we need to rush such an amazing... I know heavyweight division is terrible. I know it's in shambles. But why do we need to rush him? He got 3 fights in less than a year. Let him get 6 fights. Nothing's going to change as far as him fighting guys outside of the UFC versus coming into the UFC and fighting like cans. Because as good as people believe Gable is, and I think he will be great if they approach this correctly, he could very well end up in the same boat as Bo Nickel, just for example. And I know he has a better pedigree than Bo because he's an Olympic gold medalist. But Bo comes to the UFC, absolutely wipes out extremely low-level competition, takes a step up against a guy like Cody Brundage, struggles a little bit. He still finished him, but it went a few rounds. And then he takes a bigger step up against a guy on the top of the division like Rainier de Ritter and completely fumble. And that's not really his fault. It is because he's a fighter, but in my mind, he should have had 5 or 6 more fights outside of the UFC. Why are you coming to the UFC when you're 4-0? Even though you are this amazing prospect, take the time to really build yourself up so that by the time you get to the UFC, you're ready to fight, 1 or 2, maybe 3 fights, in the outside the top 15 or get one in the top 15, and then you're ready for the upper echelon of the division. But the way he did it, you end up in the UFC and you end up trying to build yourself up while you're in the UFC, and the UFC's, they just don't play that game. It's not what they're best at. Obviously, it works with some guys, but that's not like their bread and butter. When you get to the UFC, ideally, you're ready for the best fighters in the world. And Gable's such a great prospect. I don't want that to happen where it's heavyweight at the end of the day. And I know he's way more athletic and, a million times better wrestler than anybody in the division. But it's MMA. He's had 3 fights. He could get caught with something. Like, why rush it? Why do we have to rush it? Give the guy a little bit more time outside of the UFC before you bring him in. Give him another year and a half. Like, what's really going to change in the heavyweight division between now and then? Tom Aspinall still isn't ready to fight. Herrera and Gon are fighting. Like, you need prospects at heavyweight, but you don't need to rush anybody. Hokit, we're going to get into that. Hokit just looked great, so you have one right there. I just really fear them signing Gable too early right now, and then this kind of blowing up and him not living up to the potential that he should. Because fans will very quickly give him the Bo Nickel treatment. Like, and we've already kind of seen this with Gable in not MMA, but he tried the NFL, didn't work. Tried WWE, didn't work. Fighting seems to be going good so far. He's 3-0, has had the dirty boxing fight. Like, he's doing his thing. But again, we don't need to rush it. So that's my only fear with them signing him. But that all hinges on Gable could very well be an absolute. We know he's an athletic freak. He's a specimen. He could be a prodigy and just go in there and annihilate everybody and give them Brock Lesnar treatment where he takes them down and smashes their face in. That could also definitely be a possibility. I'm just saying, we don't need to rush it. That's my only. Now, UFC 327. Josh Hokit versus Curtis Blades. I touched on it a little bit in the UFC 327 breakdown video, but I really want to get a little bit more into it because the heavyweight division needed that so bad. I've heard multiple people talk about this. If you look at the heavyweight division from now compared to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, sports aren't supposed to, like, talent isn't supposed to deteriorate over time, if you know what I mean. Like, naturally, sports, the athletes become better, the game progresses, changes happen, some positive, some negative, but overall the talent gets better and the athletes get better. And with the UFC's heavyweight division, it's been the opposite. If you look at the top guys from 10, 15 years ago, who did you have? Let's say Verdum, Stipe, Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, Alistair Overeem, Andrei Arlovsky, guys like Bigfoot, Travis Brown, Ben Rothwell, Frank Mir. And then if you want to go farther back than that, you want to go into Nogueira and Crow Cop, Gabriel Gonzaga, Randy Couture. Like, the talent that you could name off from the UFC's heavyweight division years ago compared to now, we've had the same revolving door of Curtis Blades. There's no more Francis Ngannou. We have Curtis Blades, Ciryl gone. Tom is up there now. We had John for a second. Stipe didn't matter for the last like 4 years that he was around. Because he was around, but he didn't retire yet, so he wasn't fighting. It's been Derek Lewis, Curtis Blades, Ciryl gone, like Marcin Tybura. Just not great names. There's been like no depth to the division. You know what? Let's do this. Full screen. Ciryl gone. Volkov, Pavlovich. Now we have Waldo. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because I'm talking about the potential that the division has. And it looks a lot brighter now. I'll be honest. Signing Gable Steveson. Josh Hokit looking fantastic against Curtis Blades. So let's say for the next 3-4 years, you have Tom Aspinall, you have Waldo Cortez Acosta, you have Josh Hokit, Ciryl gone sticks around for a little while. Sergey Spivak, Volkov's old. It's just you get my point. It's been the same revolving door of like veterans. Marcin Tybura is still in there. But there's no one that really pops out at you that you're like, that makes the division. Now, the division's a little stagnant because Tom Aspinall's been hurt. I get that. Pereira's coming up. Pereira's old though. He's big game hunting. I don't think he sticks around for a long time. But could you imagine if the heavyweight division we should have, this is what the heavyweight division we should be. If the UFC wanted to pay athletes what they deserve. We would have Tom Aspinall, we would have Francis Ngannou, we would have John Jones, we would have Josh Hokit, we would have Alex Pereira. Those 5 right there. Like, that's way better than what we have right now. I'm rambling, but you get the point that I'm making. Now, let's talk about Josh Hokit. Where does Josh Hokit go from here? We know that he's going to fight Derek Lewis at the White House. They announced that literally 30 minutes after his fight finished. Now, I think it's a good decision. I think it'll pay off. I think he probably knocks Derek out in the first round, the way Derek has been looking, but it'll still be a big fight. Everyone loves Derek Lewis. It'll be fun. Heavyweights at the White House. The guy will only be 2 months removed from an absolute war with Curtis Blades. Could this blow up in their face? It could, but I think the risk is worth taking because Josh Hokit is on fire right now. And they absolutely need it. But looking at the rankings, I feel like you guys can kind of see my point I made earlier about Gable Steveson. As soon as he comes to the UFC, he's having 2 fights max, and then they're going to be like, all right, buddy, when are you fighting Ciryl gone? When are you fighting Sergey Pavlovich? Like, again, I understand the wrestling pedigree, but there's just such a big difference between a guy with 20, 25 MMA fights and a guy with 4 or 5 MMA fights. So I just don't want them to rush the guy and this blow up in their face because heavyweight division absolutely needs it because of how shallow and horrible it has been the last couple years. So I really hope for the best for Gable Steveson, and I do think if they do it right, he will be a world champion one day. Guys, give me your thoughts on the UFC's heavyweight division. Gable Steveson, Josh Hokit, how is it looking right now? How do you think it shapes up in the future? Comment down below, like, and subscribe for me. Thank you so much to anybody who has tuned in to my video. I don't know why, but holding this like a WWE wrestler just feels natural to me. That's what I'm doing. But I will see you in the next video.